Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first let's talk about the conflict on the territory of Ukraine, where during the previous night between the 8th and 9th of July of 2026, both the Russians and the Ukrainians once again attacked each other using hundreds of drones. The United States of America, Ukraine has received a warning from the United States of America about a possible massive bombardment within the next 72 hours, but as you can see, between 8th and 9th of July, the Russians didn't attack the territory of Crimea. Because of this, the Ukrainians released a notification, urgent notification, don't ignore air raid alerts tonight, applies to residents of the capital and Kyiv region. The Russians can carry out another combined strike using Iskander-M, Kn-23 and Zircon ballistic missiles. So the Ukrainians expected that the Russians would attack between 8th and 9th of July of 2026, but the Russians didn't do that. Furthermore, we believe that in coming 48 hours, the Russians will carry out a massive attack. As of the previous night, the Minister of Defense of Ukraine reported that the Russians just used 96 drones during the overnight attack, and the Russians attacked the southern regions of Ukraine and the central part. Let's discuss this attack in details. And first, let's talk about the southern regions of Ukraine. According to media, the Russians attacked the city of Odesa and the Odesa agglomeration. More precisely, the Russians attacked this facility. And this morning, we received lots of pictures and videos on this matter. In these pictures, we can see explosions and black smoke broke out right after the Russians attacked this territory. And according to information we have, the Russians attacked these barracks, these facilities, this warehouse or logistic hub, and these vehicles. And we have pictures published this morning by special services of Ukraine, where we can see the consequences of attack, and where we can see how the fire crews of the Odesa region were trying to extinguish the fire. So once again, the Russians attacked the parking site with hundreds of trucks and the facilities that the Ukrainians were using for logistic purposes. The Russians attacked the Odesa region because these days the Ukrainians intensify their attacks in the direction of Crimea. I would like to remind you that these days the Ukrainians managed to block the Russian shadow fleet on the territory of Azov Sea, and during the previous 2 days the Ukrainians launched at least 2 waves of attack in the direction of Azov Sea, and as a result of those attacks the Ukrainians managed to deal significant damage. The sources reported that up to 18 vessels were damaged by the armed forces of Ukraine, and yesterday in the evening, when we were discussing the situation, we expected that most likely the Ukrainians would once again attack this territory during the night between the 8th and the 9th of July of 2026, and this is exactly what happened. This morning we received additional pictures, satellite pictures and fire anomalies, where we can see that indeed once again something was hit through the Azov Sea, but as of the moment when I started making this video, pro-Ukrainian sources didn't publish anything on this matter. So 3 days in a row the Ukrainians continue 3 days in a row, the Ukrainians attacking the Azov Sea, trying to destroy as many as possible tankers and vessels. And this is the reason why the Russians accelerate their strikes through Odesa, Kherson and Mykolaivka regions, because the Russians understand that the Ukrainians use these territories as launching sites. So that is why the Russians destroyed the logistic hub in the northern parts of the city of Odesa with these dozens or hundreds of trucks. And this is the reason why the Russians attacked another target in the area of the city of Kherson, or in the area of the settlement by the name of Locomotives. Here we have more barracks and more vehicles and equipments of the armed forces of Ukraine. This video was published by pro-Russian sources, and in this video we can see explosions. The Russians were trying to destroy these barracks, believing that the Ukrainians were using these barracks to store drones or maybe even to launch drones deep inside of the territory of Russia and deep inside of Crimea. As for the territory of Crimea, during the previous night, the Ukrainians attacked not just the area around the city of Kerch and around the Kerch infrastructure. The Ukrainians also attacked objects of energy infrastructure through Crimea, and in this video we can see Ukrainian drones that were attacking different substations, and later pro-Russian sources stated about a blackout on the territory of this area. Now let's move further and let's talk about the central part of Ukraine and the territory between the cities of Dnipro and Zaporizhzhia. During the previous 12 hours, the Russians continued attacking locomotives in this area. In this video, we can see a locomotive that was attacked by Russians. As a result of attack, the locomotive was damaged or maybe even destroyed. Furthermore, according to information we have, along NO8 roads between the cities of Zaporizhzhia and Dnipro, the Russians destroyed another gas station, and this video was published this morning. Here we can see the consequences of attack, and here we can see what left from this gas station. And as we can see, the gas station was completely reduced to ruins. So the Russians continue attacking gas stations all over the entire territory of Ukraine, and as we can see, this is one of the most important questions for Russians. The Dnipro agglomeration, its northeastern part, another logistic hub, was damaged by Russians. Another Poshta center was attacked by the Russians, and here we can see a video of how exactly this happened. As we understand, this logistic hub was attacked by Russians using Iran drone. And during the night, the Russians continued attacking the city of Kharkiv and the Kharkiv agglomeration. We have lots of very interesting videos. In this video, we can see oil tanks that were destroyed to the west of the city of Kharkiv, but we believe that these oil tanks were already empty when the Russians were attacking them. And the Russians also destroyed another gas station in the northeastern parts of the city of Kharkiv. We're talking about this one. We have just a picture where we can see the consequences of attack, and this is the second gas station destroyed in the northwestern parts of the city of Kharkiv during the previous 2 days. Yesterday we discussed that the Russians destroyed a gas station in almost in the same micro district, at least in the same part of the city of Kharkiv. We're talking about this one. Today the Russians continued this situation and destroyed another gas station in the same part of the city of Kharkiv. The Russians are doing this with the purpose to reduce Ukraine's capabilities to attack deep inside of the territory of Russia. But despite the fact that the Russians have already destroyed hundreds of gas stations, dozens of logistic hubs, and hundreds of trucks, the Ukrainians continue attacking deep inside of the territory of Russia, dealing damage. We can't say that the Ukrainians are dealing significant damage when talking about the central part of Russia, but the Ukrainians still have possibilities to break through layered Russia's air defense forces. Yesterday in the evening, pro-Ukrainian sources published this picture where we can see the approximate roads of drones that the Ukrainians launched deep inside of the territory of Russia. As you can see, one of the roads is going in the northern direction, and many roads are moving in the southeastern direction. As for the northern direction, this morning we received a report that the Ukrainians attacked the city of Tver. More precisely, the Ukrainians attacked this territory, this oil base, and this morning we received lots of videos on this matter and lots of pictures, and we can see, according to this black smoke and according to the fire on the horizon, most likely the Ukrainians, as a result of this raid, managed to deal damage to these oil tanks and to this oil base. As of the morning of the 9th of July of 2026, very difficult to say how many oil tanks were destroyed as a result of the Ukraine's attack, but probably several oil tanks were damaged. And as you can see, according to a position of this facility, most likely the city of Moscow, the capital of the Russian Federation, is or was using this fuel and these tanks for Moscow supply. As for the southern roads of attacks, according to this picture, the Ukrainians were attacking the settlement of Stavropol, and here we have another oil base that was attacked by the Ukrainians. And this morning these videos were published by pro-Ukrainian sources where we can see a fire broke out right after the Ukrainians attacked this facility. Most likely in coming hours we will receive additional updates on this matter. Maybe we will receive fresh satellite pictures, and then we will be able to analyze the consequences of these attacks. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, and first let's talk about the Kharkiv direction. Today the group of forces north published a very interesting update about the situation around the settlement of Belaya Kolodez. I would like to remind you that several days ago the Russians managed to approach the city of Belaya Kolodez, and this is basically the heart of the northeastern parts of the Kharkiv region. And during the previous 2 days the Russians reported that the clashes began on the territory of the villages of Yurchenkova and the city of Belaya Kolodez itself. And today, the group of forces north reported that the clashes began also for the village by the name of Volokhovskaya. As you can see, the Russians right now are tasked to semi-encircle the settlement of Belaya Kolodez and to cut the city from logistic lines from the northern directions, which means that the battle for the city of Belaya Kolodez enters its decisive phase. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Slaviansk-Konstantinovka direction. During the previous 12 hours, pro-Russian sources published another video where we can see Russian troops moving through the city of Konstantinovka. This video was published by pro-Russian sources, and this video confirms strong control over the city of Konstantinovka by the armed forces of the Russian Federation. Furthermore, pro-Russian sources stated that right after the Russians announced complete control over the city, the Ukrainians launched a counter-offensive operation, and the Russians reported that just yesterday they managed to finish the defense operation. The Russians repelled the Ukrainian counter-offensive operation, and furthermore, according to different sources, very reliable sources, as you can see according to this map, the map has been adjusted significantly since the 8th of July of 2026. For example, this is the end of the 8th of July, and this is already the beginning of the 9th of July, and this morning several very reliable pro-Russian sources stated that as a result of clashes, the Russians captured the settlement of Mykolaivka. So this is the village which is located between the cities of Konstantinovka and Pokrovsk and the villages of Novopavlovka, Pavlovka, Priut. So this village was a very important village. We haven't received anything on this matter yet. The Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation hasn't confirmed this information, and we don't have proofs, video proofs about the situation in this area. But of course, if this is the case, if this is exactly what happened here, then most likely the Russians will continue improving their positions through this pocket, forcing the Ukrainians to fall back from positions in the northern direction towards the cities of Druzhkovka, Druzhkovka, and then Russians using this front line would continue offensive operation further in the northern direction with the purpose to attack the Druzhkovka, Druzhkovka agglomeration from at least 3 or 4 directions. Now let's talk about the Zaporizhzhia area. As we discussed during the previous days, the Ukrainians published a video with the Ukrainian flag in the central part of the settlement of Novokhatka. Later, this video was removed, but there is a video about this, and based on this video, we came to the conclusion that indeed the armed forces of Ukraine during the previous days managed to carry out a limited counter-offensive operation, and as a result of this limited counter-offensive operation, the Ukrainians managed to improve their positions in this area, trying to force the Russians to stop their offensives in the area of the cities of Ivanovka and Novopavlovka. So the Ukrainians are tasked just to win some time, to win additional days, and to slow down the Russians. As for the Orekhov direction, these days the Russians continue bombing and attacking the Tavrizhska, Yurkovka, the city of Orekhov with aviation. Lots of videos were published on this matter where we can see how the Russians were basically reducing the edge defense positions of the armed forces of Ukraine, but as you can see, without changes on the ground. And that's it for the short video. The Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.